I don't think I have to tell the Prime Minister. I think he's well aware of the rupture that we faced with our biggest trading partner and how it's showing up here in British Columbia, and the need for us to work together to respond to that. And I know the British Columbians have seen the Prime Minister's leadership on this very point of strengthening our national economy, ensuring we can stand on our own 2 feet. And we are all grateful to have a Prime Minister that stands up to people who threaten our sovereignty and threaten our economy. It is crucially important.
Carney says the world is facing an energy crisis and Canada must help solve it. Mark Carney just told British Columbia, very politely, very diplomatically, but absolutely unmistakably, that if they keep dragging their feet on energy development, Ottawa is going to take its ball and go play somewhere else. And in Canadian political terms, that is about as bold as it gets. Welcome to Prime Updates. Hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell right now because Canadian energy politics just got a whole lot more interesting and you do not want to miss what comes next.
From my perspective in British Columbia, we are ideally suited to meet this moment. We've been working for years to develop projects that deliver the resources that people need, that they're looking for around the world, whether it's our mining sector, our clean energy sector, our life sciences sector. I could go on. And there's no doubt in my mind but that the Prime Minister is a friend to British Columbia.
So here is the setup. Carney stood up recently and declared that the world is facing an energy crisis, and that Canada, sitting on some of the most significant energy resources on the planet, has both the opportunity and the responsibility to help solve it. Big statement. Strong framing. The kind of language you expect from a former central banker who knows how to command a room. But then came the part that really turned heads. Carney made it clear that if energy development gets bogged down in British Columbia, tangled up in regulatory delays, provincial hesitation, and the kind of bureaucratic molasses that Canada has become internationally famous for, his government will be, and these are his words, spending more time elsewhere.
And an important part of friendship is telling each other the truth, and part of the truth for British Columbia is that development work that we're doing, of developing our economy, has to go hand in hand with environmental protection for the next generation, including the North Coast tanker ban. That is crucially important for British Columbians, protecting our pristine North Coast, as well as ensuring we have that balance, and I know the Prime Minister shares those values too.
The federal Liberals and British Columbia's provincial government have historically been comfortable allies, aligned on climate priorities, progressive policy instincts, the whole package. So for Carney to essentially issue a soft ultimatum to BC signals that something has shifted in Ottawa's thinking. Energy urgency is now outweighing political courtesy. And that is a big deal. Here is the broader context that makes this even more significant. Canada has been trying to position itself as a reliable global energy supplier for years. Liquefied natural gas terminals, pipeline expansions, critical minerals development. And yet, project after project has gotten stuck in approval processes so long and complicated that investors start looking at other countries before the environmental assessment is even halfway done. Canada keeps showing up to the global energy conversation with incredible potential and painfully slow execution. It is like having the best recipe in the world but taking 3 years to preheat the oven. Carney, coming from the world of international finance, understands better than most what that reputation costs. Global capital is not patient. Energy markets are not waiting. And allied nations looking for stable, democratic suppliers of oil, gas, and critical minerals have options. If Canada keeps fumbling its own development timelines, someone else fills that gap, and it will not be a country with Canada's environmental standards or democratic values. So the message to BC is really a message to every province with energy potential and a complicated relationship with development timelines. Get moving or get out of the way of federal priorities. That is not the soft, consensus-building federalism Canadians are used to hearing from Ottawa, and honestly, depending on your perspective, that is either refreshing or alarming. Pierre, naturally, is watching all of this with considerable interest. Because the Conservatives have been making this exact argument about Canadian energy urgency for years. If Carney starts actually delivering on resource development, it neutralizes one of the opposition's sharpest attacks. And if he does not, it becomes the defining failure of his economic agenda. Either way, Canada's energy future just got moved to the very top of the national conversation, and it is not leaving anytime soon. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.